Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to a fashion moment with Tai Chunn. We're back in the studio because we have a special guest today. And guess who's back in the building? Brother Leon. And Gabby,
and kick it.
live and kick it. Gabby couldn't be here today, so we give our love. And Miss Gabby Kennedy, she's not here today. And we have our special guest, Rap Artist Space Windu, who's in the building. So we're going to jump into some topics today before we get into Space Windu. He's going to perform later on. We're going to also get into the whole hip hop genre and talk about, back in the days versus what's going on now with the hip hop community and getting a little bit about drill music, how you feel about all that and all the above. And I want to test your knowledge of the hip hop community. So first of all, Brother Leon, welcome back. How's everything going with you?
It's going fine. Everyone knows about the cancer ordeal.
Mm-hmm. Well, not everyone, because
Well, they're going to find out.
So expound upon that.
I'll keep it brief. His prostate cancer was caught in time, and I'm really going to advocate for men, especially because it's something that we overlook, but it's imperative that you have, especially when you're over the age 50. Not that I am, but to have your
35
regularly, because that pretty much can save your life as it is with me. So it was caught at the early stage. It's treatable. There'll be some radiation, but it won't be the full spectrum of having to go through chemo and operations like that. So for the most part, there are no symptoms because it was caught in time. And the reason why that happened is because you have to have your PSA level checked periodically, at minimum once a year. So I'm doing great.
Yeah, and outside of doing your PSA levels, you have to get a prostate exam.
Yes.
I know men get all leery about it. Yes, your prostate is reached through your rectum, but it's a necessity. So you guys have to take that seriously.
It's one time where when they give you the finger, it can save your life.
So we're gonna go straight from prostate to Jesse Smollett. So Jesse Smollett has been like a pariah. He has been, tarnished, and I don't honestly believe that what he did was so bad. If this is what he did or whatever, I felt like, he got the shaft, especially with all the corruption with the Chicago PD. The DA made a deal with him, which should have been upheld. The same thing in the Cosby case. He did the deposition in conditions that it wouldn't be able to come back and bite him, which is why he's been released. Now, however you feel about either case, the law is the law, and it should work equally for everyone.
Right.
We got IQ 45 running around here with all of these crimes. Nobody's going after him. Young Thug is, being prosecuted, but yet the same DA in Atlanta was so gung-ho about IQ 45, yet hasn't gotten any charges against him, but she's speeding through to get Young Thug in jail. So I give him grace, you know what I'm saying? And anytime, well, not OJ, because maybe he said he's not black, he's OJ. But anytime a black man gets full justice in this injustice system, I'm all for it. So we're gonna go into the fashion of it all because Jesse Smollett showed up and showed out at the BET Awards.
That he did.
Now, Brother Leon, I know that your opinion differs from me with him, but that was his welcome back into Hollywood. And what do you think about that?
You know what? It is a mixed opinion because there's a pro and there's a con. Okay, he did something. So my thing is, at what level does he get penalized?
Mm-hmm.
Because if him being penalized or what he's going through is because he's black, that's an injustice. And I'm sorry, because an injustice shouldn't have a color attached to it.
Right.
Because if it did, there's no way in hell Harvey Weinstein would have been able to get away with that for the years that he did. And everyone knew what he was doing. And right up until the end, he was getting a pat on the wrist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, slap on the wrist, he was. And subsequently,
yes.
Will Smith, the first thing they said was take his Oscar.
Yeah, right. So when you look at what Smollett did, okay, you know what? Basically what it did was made him look like a fool. But nobody died. Nobody was hurt except him. So when you look at what he did, you know, the deed has to equal something. It doesn't equal his career for what he did.
It does.
The embarrassment alone is that's his punishment.
That is his punishment.
So I felt that way, but he's making a comeback. I'm all for that because everybody has a right to redemption.
Everybody has a right to redemption. So getting into his BET, his Welcome Back to Hollywood, he produced B-Boy Blues from a book called B-Boy Blues, and he also wrote the script for the screenplay for B-Boy Blues. So, and it was a phenomenal movie. I mean, like, I watched it a million times. I went to the premiere and all of that. And for those of you who don't know, B-Boy Blues is a book about a gay guy who's his travels through life as, you know, being gay and figuring out his love and all of that because he likes thugs, hence the term B-Boy or what have you. And I thought it was phenomenal to see that he not only he wrote that, but he also wrote the lead music in it and performed it. And it was an amazing, amazing thing to see Hollywood give him his due because I know a lot of times as Black people, you know, in kitchen talk and things that we don't say in public, you know, we're a lot harder on ourselves than anybody else. You know what I mean? So it's well, not even ourselves, but our own people.
Right.
And I feel like, you know, seeing that grace was well deserved, I believe, because he did a $10,000 fine or something like that in the original deal in community service and all of that kind of stuff. And it was it was the bruised egos of the Chicago PD is why they went at him like that way. So seeing him welcome back, I thought was amazing. Space Windu, do you have any thoughts on this?
I mean, yeah, it's nice to see him back, and I definitely don't think too much punishment should have been put on him for what he did, you know. But we should have like deadlines, you know, maybe cancel him for 6 months. It was a foolish move, you know.
It was foolish,
but you know, everybody deserves forgiveness. So.
Everybody deserves forgiveness. A rapper with the heart. Who'd have thunk it? First time on Natural with Tai Chunn, you know.
I'm going to squeeze this in really quick. I'm really proud of my brother for being how nice and svelte he looks. And he looks fantastic. And I'm quite pleased with everything else he said that he had planned on doing that. And the books that he put in. You look great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now moving right on with the SHOW. Now we're going to get into a little bit of, you know, of what's going on in the media and what's going on with the country, the way that it is. I know that, I don't know if I spoke to you guys live about this, but I struggle and I straddle the fence on how to create this show and not make it so humdrum because the media coverage is 24/7. The news cycles are 24/7. So you're constantly being beaten in the head with all of this negativity. And when I created a fashion movement with Tai Chunn in 2008, it was about having fun. And then when I got picked up by WUFO AM, I wanted to, you know, make it about my celebrity friends and all that kind of stuff. But a fashion movement with Tai Chunn was never really only about fashion. It was a play on words because every topic is in fashion. You know what I'm saying? Like how people say in vogue nowadays or what have you. So I struggle with that because when we went into COVID, we had the self-quarantine show with Brother Leon and Miss Z, and we miss her dearly. We had to go into hardcore topics, talk about the damage that IQ 45 was doing, get our people to vote, and all of those kinds of things. And we just had an election pass. So, and you know, Kathy Hochul won. I didn't vote for her, just like I didn't vote for the mayor that we have now, but so be it. But you know, the laws that are created are from, like I tell everybody, from the dog catcher on down, you need to be voting for every single office and taken seriously. But we have to, stay informed and in order to educate our children and whatnot. Take your kids with you to go vote and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Because the things that are happening is because the lack of the vote. I watched First Wives, right? First Ladies. And Michelle Obama and Barack Obama, they were talking in a private session, and she said, none of your people showed up for this election. And it was, even though it was historical that Hillary Clinton was running, but a lot of people didn't forget how she dogged our first Black president.
Yeah.
Against common thought that her husband Clinton was the first Black president because he played the saxophone on what's his name, Arsenio Hall. You know what I mean? And what have you? But he did more damage in putting more Black people in jail since the Reagan era, or what have you. But we'll talk about that another time. I went all around the world and and back to talk about what's going on now with the Supreme Court, because that's a direct correlation to voting and the importance of voting. So I'm gonna start with you because you're younger than both of us. What do you think about like voting? Is it something that really is like something that's important to you, or you look at it like, it don't affect me really because of your everyday life and what you do?
I mean, like, I definitely see the importance in numbers, like with voting, as far as like how far, what numbers could do together. We have a better chance at affecting, what goes on with like government views or whatever. But a lot of people in my generation, where I'm coming from, they don't really feel like I talk to a lot of people in my neighborhood and stuff, and a lot of people feel like their vote doesn't really count, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, I'm kind of at like Obama was the first time I voted, you know what I mean? So that was the first time. And Biden, I didn't vote for it. I didn't vote that time, but not to say that I didn't feel like my vote mattered, because I definitely know, like I said, with numbers, we can have an effect on something. But it's just hard to say, because we've seen things like, remember that George Bush and Al Gore?
Right.
We've seen George Bush win and the votes was taken away from Florida.
With his brother was the governor.
Like that. So a lot of people feel like behind. Yeah, I was like 12 years old. but I remember that.
Right.
It's like a lot of people feel like they don't know all the time what's going on behind closed doors.
Right.
And there's so much so it's hard to get like my generation as interested in voting, and because voting is something that we fought for. So I know my parents, it's a sensitive topic to them. They're like, yo, you have to go out and vote, and you have to. But I don't think my generation feels that same sensitivity and as your generation would, and it would be nice if we could, because who knows, we've seen with the Obama vote what you could do, and then on the opposite side, we've seen what you could do on the Trump vote. There was numbers that came together to vote for Trump as well, so it's I feel like together, that's a form of that's a way where we could show how together we are, and what we stand for.
Out of the mouth of babes. He's schooled us. Look, this show is going a fast forward with Tai Chunn. I eat Tai Chunn. Don't be showing me up. I go Whitney Houston. Bitch, coming up. Goodbye, man. It was great meeting you. Nice to see you. We'll play in Storm on Spotify. Brother Leon.
I'm going to tell you something. No one should ever have the attitude of saying voting doesn't matter, because it does. But right now, okay, America needs to pay attention to power and who has the power. Governors, the people that, you see what the Republicans are doing? I'm gonna keep this brief. They're running, they're running for to be in control of the votes. You have two people that were convicted that are running to control the votes in their states. Governors, because governors can overrule a lot of what the presidents, because they can set a precedent, they can set laws within their state. Because the Republicans want to get everything on the state level. But what they want to put in place are a lot of electoral Republicans that will have a say in how votes are counted. They want to have it where you can say, well, you know what? Let's do an investigation on these 10,000 people. They can disallow those votes until they find out if they're legitimate. But in the meantime, the election is over. Okay, so the down ballot voting is more important. And the other thing, the Democrats are blowing it, and I'm sorry, they're being, I'm not going to say the word, but they're being pussies. Oh, I said it. Because I'm gonna keep it brief.
You said that 20 minutes ago.
Okay. The Supreme Court was predicated to be in step with the civil court circuit. So it right now, there's an imbalance. It increased from 5 to 7 to 9. People don't know why, because as the civil circuit increases, the Supreme Court is supposed to balance that out. Right now, we're supposed to have 13 Supreme Court justices. We don't. And the Republicans, because you have people like Manchin, not really Republican, will not vote to expand it. And it should
You mean
be
not really
expanded.
Democrat?
Right, exactly. But it should be to catch up. That's not expanding the court. That's bringing it into where it should be.
And there's historical precedence for it. Because there was a time when there were 9 justices. There were a time when there were less than 9. It had varied throughout our history.
Exactly.
You know.
And the last thing is.
Are you sure?
Yeah. When Trump got elected, and we can say Trump got elected because
IQ 45. We don't say
IQ.
his name.
You
don't say his name with this show.
Because 53% of white women voted for Trump. And someone tried to correct me and say, no, you mean 53% of Republican women. I'm like, no. Republican women would vote almost 100% because they're Republicans. It was white women, and it increased 2% to 55%. They voted not for Biden. So therein lies the problem. But these laws abolishing abortion affects you and your daughters too. Now you're in an uproar. Well, you should have been in an uproar then. So the actual number is 47 white women, 40 that voted for Trump, and 45 that voted against. That's still too high. So that's how he got elected. So now, no president won. Since Reagan won the popular vote, Republican
president. Yeah.
So,
and that's because they need to get rid of the collectible.
Yeah, because there's no way Wyoming should have the same amount of senators as California.
Exactly. But I want to back up really quickly to your point about the women, white women in particular. The reason why, and this is something that people fail to realize, is that white women historically in this country have been a protected class. So white women in this country will vote against their best interest because no matter what, they win. In civil rights that we fought for as Black people fought for, and now LGBT rights and all of those kinds of things are being tacked on to the backs of civil rights where we were beaten and killed and all of that kind of stuff. White women also got rights because women's rights came underneath the civil rights movement. So they win there.
Right.
But if their white men are winning, guess what the first thing white men do is protect the virtue of a white woman.
Right.
Which is why they had laws that the one law I think they should reinstate, and please don't kill me for this or whatever. And it's only because of that stupid Clarence Thomas is the law of that interracial marriage. Just for one day, because he wants every other law examined. But you notice the same statute he's using has that law about interracial marriage in it. And the one thing that will always be protected is a white woman, because that's the one thing that white men will always do is protect the virtue of white women. So they can't win for losing, no matter what. Well, they can't lose for winning, rather, or vice versa.
And we say this, it has
and I don't want people to be like, oh my God, you're being racist. First of all, I can't be racist. First of all, I can be a reactionist, because guess what? I was put in a position in this world to where I didn't have a majority thought process, where I was considered and still am considered 3/5 of a human. So I can't be racist, darling. I could just react. So anyway, so I digress. But that's the reason. But I'm just giving an education to people on why white women historically vote against their better judgment, as well as their interests, because they're a protected class regardless. And they win when we win our rights. They get rights. They win if we don't get rights, because the white men are going to protect the virtue of white women.
Right. And I didn't want to say that's watching the show that it's not a race issue, it's a fact issue.
It's a fact.
Look at it this way. We're not beating them.
I'm being very analytical about it and very serious about it. And you can look at the statistics, you can read about it historically, and this is why it is what it is.
And they're the largest voting.
But this is the same reason why River Bar is doing the poor people's campaign, because white poor people vote against their own best interest, in the thought that we're coming to steal their jobs. Mexicans are coming to steal their jobs. Not realizing that expansion of Medicaid and all of these kinds of things are things that benefit them. Like when you talk to 90% of white people and you say, child, you got your Obamacare. Oh, I can't stand Obamacare. Well, how about American Care Act?
Right, the ACA, give me that.
And then they give me that. And that's the one thing that I'll say about Obama, that I don't know if it was vanity, stupidity, or a little bit of both. But how dumb are you to know that when you were running, your name was mud, and then you're going to attach your name to a healthcare plan that can help millions and millions and millions of people, as opposed to saying, no. Well, this is American.
Actually, he didn't. You know what? He didn't attach his name to that. Actually,
he didn't disvalue it.
Right.
He should have immediately said,
exactly.
No.
Exactly.
This is not no. This is the American. This is the Affordable American Care Act.
Exactly. What happened was, the Republicans figured if they attach his name to it, it would be.
No, the Republicans, but we're not talking about the Republicans.
No. I'm saying the Republicans actually.
Because they knew his name was mine.
Right, but and you're right. So I'm agreeing with you. He should have.
Don't sound like it to me.
He should have dispelled it.
I said what I said.
And you're right. He should have dispelled it. But of course, he wanted to get it through. But in writing that magic copy, then the backlash was it served the purpose that Republicans were doing. Oh, I don't want the damn Obamacare.
Mm-hmm. But see, it wasn't about getting it through. It wasn't about getting it through, because they got it through as the Affordable American Care Act, or whatever you want to call it, what have you. And what happened was is that Democrats have a problem with messaging. And they have a problem with staying on message. They have a problem with unison when it comes to messaging. And instead of every time someone said Obamacare, just like every time somebody said Muslim or communist or this or that, you're supposed to attack that right away.
Right.
And you're supposed to make sure.
Well, they got it because of Roberts, and because remember John McCain.
Right.
That's what they thought Obamacare was dead. But you're right, and especially with Democrats, we have to stop. Like we feel like we can't do nothing without it being bipartisan. No, you got to fight now. You think Mitch McConnell gives a damn about bipartisanship? Hell no. He told him about it. He said,
Nobody in
we
America
will
cares
never
about
let
that.
you get a Supreme Court pick.
Nobody in America cares about partisanship if things are getting done. And not even the Democrats. The Democratic Party don't give a hoot about it. It's the people who are in office, Clyburn and all of these idiots that are in office still. And I shouldn't call them an idiot because they've been through the civil rights and they did this and they rode look like in the name of Portia Williams, they rode the freedom the Underground Railroad. What have you, and all of this kind of stuff. But there's a time and a place, and they are not in this time and in this place. They are in yesteryear, and we need to put people in those positions. I think that every single last one of them should be challenged. They all should be primaried. I'm sorry, because they are too comfortable with the status quo and the way that things are.
Well, that's why I said it's establishment.
Right. So we're gonna move off of this topic because we can go on and on and on. We were gonna get into the gun laws that they're going into, and we're gonna go into the abortion stuff like that. But like I said, I'm trying to thread this thin needle between being entertaining and being preachy, and just another one of those shows. So as y'all see, I got my phone out because I want to jump into you and Space Windu. First of all, where does the name come from?
Oh, I'm actually a big Star Wars fan, and like Samuel Jackson's name is Mace Windu, and he's like the only Black Jedi. So, yeah. So I went with Space Windu, man, and I took a play off of his name.
Okay.
And that's what.
All right. So then I want to get into to music, right? Rap, hip hop, whatever we call it. What do you consider yourself? A hip hop artist? Consider you're a rap artist, a lyricist? What do you consider yourself?
All of the above. But I'm really a hip hop artist, lyricist. A hip hop artist.
Hip hop artist, yeah. Because to me, the rap game is something different than hip hop culture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Hip hop is a culture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a movement. It shaped and formed this world. You can't have a commercial without hearing our music or seeing our dances or something.
Exactly.
I am hip hop. I've been, a hip hop head since I was 9 years old, and I continue to be a hip hop head. You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't know that like the first female rapper was Lady B, and then you had Angie Stone, and she had a crew, and she was on Sugar Hill Gang. So that was your reason. So, you know what I'm saying? I am hip hop, baby. Let me tell you something. I was a dancer, so and I was also back in the days. It was about the DJ. So I was and each DJ had an MC crew. So you'd be like, DJ, what you got for me?
It's just how it changed though, because it would be like Jazzy Jeff and the artist, like the DJ first though.
Exactly. Like Grandmaster Flash. And you know what I mean? So, so I said I want to understand your knowledge of hip hop. How far back can you go?
Oh man, I remember being in the car, like going on like a trip to down south, and he played the Sugar Hill Gang and shit. So I remember like the Sugar Hill. I don't remember, of course, but I my parents listen to old school stuff too. So I've been kind of listening to music that came out before I was born, and then like Biggie, I was like. A lot of people my age say they Biggie fan, but we was only like 8 years old with Biggie. So like the age I started really absorbing music and really understanding like, oh shit, he's spitting. It's like I would say probably around like high school, which was 50 Cent, Kid Richard, Die Trying era. Like that's when I really started like absorbing music differently and understanding and being able to relate. You know what I mean? But I listen to Wu-Tang, like Biggie, Tupac, Have
you ever heard of the Spoonie G and the Treacherous Three?
No.
I'm giving you some homework. You know what I'm saying? The Furious Five.
I know. I heard
the Furious Five. You know what I'm saying? What about Dr. Jekyll with Mr. Hyde? No, they got this sick.
But you see, if you play a song from them, I would probably know the
Know the
song.
song.
You know what I mean?
You know what I'm
So
saying?
it's like,
Like the Jack Chicken Mr. Hot, like they were lyricists from back in the day. And one thing like at my age, I still remember he was like, Mr. Sharp, you live in the ocean.
Yeah.
Help me find that magic potion. And they like went and they told these immaculate stories.
But you know,
that
that's everything like him.
Mr. Barry and Rakim is way after. Like we are going. We're trying. First of all, you're too old to be just talking about Eric B. and Rakim. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be talking about what I'm talking about right now. So guess what? You know, I don't know if y'all know this, but it seems like it's 2 against 1 right here. Like I'm trying to get the culture out, and you still talking some New Jack City. Like, come on now. Can I live?
When hip hop came about, you know, it went through stages like all genres of music too. How do you compare artists today of how they handle themselves and get established, as opposed to the hip hop artists back then? And I'm asking that question because today the hip hop artists seem to be less reliant on studios and music companies and more self-dependent.
yeah.
Is that working? Is that better for them?
I mean, it is in a way. It has its ups and downs because like the good thing about a label is the backing and the money, you know, and it's like they could really put you on that platform. But the bad thing about is, you know, you get signed for $1 million, they probably gonna take like 20 million from you, you know what I mean?
Right.
So like that's the back end. But as far as an independent artist now, it's the easiest time to be an independent artist because we have things like the internet and you know and so much like exposure in so much ways. It's the easiest time for 1 million people to see you, I feel like. You know what I mean? And it's like but there's ups and downs to it because the money has to come from somewhere, you know, at the end of the day. So it's like you support and you invest in yourself, you know, and that's the hardest part about it, I would say, you know, like just keeping up because you still have to live life, you know.
Exactly.
So it's like balancing that. It's that balance, you know, that's the hardest part to keep up with. But I feel like if you it's the easiest time to go for it as an independent artist. So for me, I would rather an independent route, but
Are you independent or are you?
I'm definitely independent.
Right. So, you know, it's funny that you say that because I remember the days of the development deal. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that you guys keep seeing me look off stage and all that kind of stuff. That's because we're in the studio and we have an audience here. So, you know, like I'm seeing hands wave and different things. So, you know, I know you see me look off stage like, who the hell is Tom looking at? So we're in the studio and we do have a studio audience here, what have you. So anyway, long of the short, what I was going to say was, back in the day, there used to be a thing called development deals. Now you use a label as a distribution basically because of the machine of which they have or what have you, but streaming is kind of kicking that in the butt as well. But the distribution portion of it, because the development deal is when I used to come in because I used to do wardrobe and artist development and all that kind of stuff. So we used to get these big inflated budgets, fly to Dubai and fly to Miami and fly to the Cape of Cape Cod and all this little stuff or whatever, and be all flashed up or whatever and everything, getting the artists fly and whatnot and what have you. And nowadays, how do you guys decide, like, are you just gonna rock what you rock? Or are you like, what's that like? How do you get yourself ready for that? Because I know that in order to get a distribution deal now, you have to come fully loaded. You have to be labeled. You have to have a following. You have to have a website. You have to have an EPK. You have to have your music packages mixed and mastered, practically everything done by the time you come to the studio. So to the labels. So like, how do you decide, one, your fashion, two, the music that you're gonna put forth, because you don't get the expertise of having A&Rs and people and engineers and stuff like that are in the industry per se, helping you with those things. How do you come about all that?
Well, like I always had like a liking for certain brands and like I like a baby nape. I like comedy.
You like Tai Chunn?
Yeah. I like Tai Chunn. You see, but that's the thing. I like Tai Chunn. You know,
Shameless plug.
Yeah. But that's the whole thing. Like, this is something that I made.
I love that.
This is something that I made. So I don't really like certain things I'll wear regardless of how overhyped or underhyped it is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And as far as like appealing to a crowd, like there's it's like I said, it's the easiest time to reach so much people. So you might not be able to like reach that mainstream crowd with like the style you have in your mind, but you can really be yourself and reach like there's still a fan base out there for you. Like don't think everything is, you know what I mean, to artists coming up and stuff. A lot of people get confused with the mainstream and what's going on, and they might think that's the only way, you know. But there's a lot of like now you can make your own platform and be able to like create your own styles and start your own trends, you know, just like you doing with Tai Chunn, like just like that, you know. So it's like yeah, that's how I really choose. Like I just wear what I like and what I've been liking, and like you know, every once in a while there's a new thing that I might get interested in, but for the most part, the clothes that I wear are brands that I've been wearing since like high school, like you know. So
Right.
yeah, but I really want to get into my own merch too, because that's a thing as an independent artist. Like that's another way to collect, you know, money.
Exactly.
So I want to get into making my own merch.
Which is another question I had for you, going, because we know COVID changed a lot of industries, especially fashion, because so many of the fashion shows were just canceled, or fashion weeks were canceled, and then the ones that did come off, they basically catered to celebrities, and they left the people who, you know, who basically their supporters and their constituency left them out. So now I know that kind of maybe pushed you like more to do your own expanded line, which by the way is really expensive because you know you like we can go from grandma now to pet wear. When I saw the dog with the chun wear, like okay, talk about coming full circle. But like did that further push you to say, you know what? I'm just going independent, full speed, 100%. Because of that, because you could see where mainstream fashion went. And I know you've been mainstream, but when it's your brand, well, okay, with me, when it's your brand, sometimes you have aspirations, maybe somebody picking you up. But when that wasn't there, like you had to say, I'm not dropping the brand. I want to do something with it. So what you did with it, because it's expansive now, and it's great, by the way, people are going to see it. So was that the motivating factor? I guess that's the question I'm trying to ask.
So, but with me, I'm being interviewed now. Whose damn show is this?
So we want to know.
Well, with me, my mind is, and people who know me, I say this a million times. I probably said it in a million other interviews and things of that nature. Although this is not an interview. That my mind, it works like a movie screen. So I'm always like looking for the next, wondering what's going to be next, wondering how I'm going to be able to do me and also be authentic to myself or what have you. So when I created Tai Chunn brand somewhat years ago, I just kept adding to my arsenal. So when I was ready to pull the trigger, I was going to be able to launch at any given moment. We could have been in 2052 and I'd have been ready.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm always looking at what's next. I never was in that trap hole of, even though I was a part of the Mercedes-Benz movement, I was the first and only Black producer to produce at the Mercedes-Benz level and have an all-Black production team from hair, makeup, and publicists who ran the show at Lincoln Center for the last season of Mercedes-Benz, well, the second to the last season of Mercedes-Benz, being in New York or what have you. So I already saw that, and when I was doing that show, I was already breaking ground because I brought the first and only Norwegian designer into the New York market at that time. And not only did I bring her in from over there, I also brought in a whole new flavor where we had at least 70% of our models were women of color or whatever. And, I hate that definition of women of color because it wasn't all Black women. I had to, reassess what I was saying because I was going for all Black, but because the brand and the people and all of those things didn't mesh, we came to a compromise or what have you. So we had Asian women, we had women from the Korea's Next Top Model, and all of these different women as well as Black women, what have you. So to answer your question, I don't know, it's just something that, like how they say that it factor, I always had that it that always kept me being able to look towards what's next. I never stayed in the moment. I always stayed in what's next. And anything that I've done in my past, right now, I'm looking at footage and stuff like that, and I'm like, damn, that's for now. You know what I'm saying? Because it didn't work then. So I'm able to go into my archives. And I'm going into my archives, and I'm like, yo, this is how I can market this now, because they didn't understand it then. So I mean, like, it's hard to, it's hard to be that way. I just say, don't pigeonhole yourself. And moving from pigeonholing yourself as an artist, how do you keep yourself from being pigeonholed? Like, what style would you say rapper are you? Are you a Mos Def? Are you a Common? Are you a 50 Cent? Are you a this or that or whatever? Or do you not consider yourself in any of those and pigeonhole yourself into?
I don't consider myself in any of those. I try to keep my style like as organic and like I try to just innovate something new, bring something new to the game that, like, people haven't really heard before, so like, yeah, I just try to basically stay in my own lane, and like I have like people who I get I'm inspired by, but a lot of them are not even rappers, It's like,
thank you, son.
No, but like I could listen to I could really listen to like a John Mayer song and find inspiration, like I can find inspiration off of good music. It doesn't have to be rap, and I can find a way to emulate that kind of in my style.
Or creativity, you never know where that
Also keep it fresh and new,
Exactly. We like to hear from the guests. The peanut gallery. I know it's been a long time. I know we're still figuring out your new contract.
Yeah, I got that.
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Speaking of that.
So, moving straight from that, do we have your music ready? Because I would love to hear something that that you do, speaking of your style. Because I don't know if you people know, he in 2020, right before February 13th, actually, he debuted on A Fashion Moment with Tai Chunn, and he was supposed to be our artist of the month, and we were going to be playing his music on WTAI radio, which now we have Spotify and Amazon Music and TuneIn that we are also a part of. Thank you. Another shameless plug again. What have you? My girl Z, although she hasn't been on the camera, she's been the line producer, and she's been making sure that the platform is expanding. He was supposed to be run for the month. So this is one of the reasons why we brought him back as the first artist of this season, because you are the artist of the month. So starting next month, we're going to be playing all of your music on our Spotify, Amazon, and TuneIn and WTAI radio. So make sure you send us the what do you call it? The stuff you own that's mixed and mastered, so that you can get your money up. And we'll get on the other side of the money up once we listen to you perform.
Okay, well, I got some unreleased stuff that I'm gonna do today.
All right, cool. All right. So this is live, and we're waiting on the music. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Space Windu.
Stop playing.
So we're waiting on the music. While we're waiting on the music, I guess we can get into.
But you have your show coming. You have your.
Maybe to the end. Speaking of while we're waiting on the music coming up, the importance of streaming. What is the importance of streaming?
Streaming is that's like, it's like none of my favorite artists are on the radio right now. Right. But I still have the availability to listen to them because, so streaming just gives you more availability, across platforms other than the radio, because the radio was kind of mainstream nowadays. So it's but
radio was still paid for spins.
Yeah.
But with streaming, how do you get your money?
Well, you get paid for your streaming and stuff. It's not.
You have to get more streams.
As far as money wise, I feel like the game is still developing to the point where they're gonna get artists more money for streams and stuff. Because right now it's what's really a third of a penny or some shit like that, for every one stream, you know what I mean? It's not even a full penny.
So do you have to get into a full rotation and
you
start
have
getting
playlists and all of these things. They have an algorithm. I got a couple songs in the algorithm which they get spins and I collect money off of that, so that's good. So a lot of things are about algorithm,
Right.
Yeah,
because it's important to me for artists to understand how to own their music and how to be able to not only understand the importance of getting your music mixed and mastered and owning your masters or what have you, but also understanding and negotiating what you get each time your music is. Radio is called spins, and modern times it's called streaming and all that kind of stuff, and figuring out how you can get it and up your ante from getting 1/3 of a penny or whatever and stuff like that. Because I never even knew you could split up a penny.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't even see pennies anymore. Remember there used to be a song called, there used to be a saying called, if you find a penny, pick it up and all the things you have good luck. You don't even see a damn penny anymore.
Man.
So my production is telling me that we are ready.
Okay.
So we're ready, set, go. He's got this, go, we're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
We're ready.
All in. I go all in. You say that wrong shit. You ain't fucking with it, you lost it. I be really feeling like I'm flawless. And I can really have my money calling. Step to the game with my bullshit. All of my dreams are enormous. Effortless, I don't gotta force it. Cause I'm on in, I go all in. Straight to the spin that raw shit. You ain't fucking with it, you lost it. I be really feeling like I'm flawless. And I can really have my money calling. Step to the game with my bullshit. All of my dreams are enormous. Effortless, I don't gotta force it. I be all about devotion. On my own wave in the middle of the ocean. Showing no emotion. If you get too attached, it's gonna get broken. Got my eyes on the lotus. Got the flower like better know that I'm chosen. Mushroom tea, the potion. And I'm smoking the dopest. Still be floating. I just wanna live for the moment. Gotta chase my dreams back right with the homies. Never got the job I ain't focusing. Cause the force is strong and my mind is broken. Back on the beat like a soldier. Coming forward all trying to take the game over. I'm really about to be a loner. Then the chill will be bringing every up to the sofa. And I do it for the culture. Grew up in the jungle, straight to the vultures. My niggas will smoke ya. So I learned to play chess, same time play poker. We got me in a coma. Woke up with a baggage, life full of stoner. Rolling up marijuana. She attacked the kid, so she act like I own her. Cause I move like a boss suit. Gotta go and get it, ain't nobody gonna force you. Everything gonna fall through. And I got no doubt, cause I really can't afford to. Got no time to make small moves. Fuck a nigga who ain't feeling what I'm saying, just saw you. I go hard and ignore you. They ain't fucking with the army, ain't no way my niggas follow you. All these rap niggas garbage. Yeah, I snap on the track like it's gonna be garbage. And I really go the hardest. I mean 24/7 and the dog go all, man. You ain't fucking with it, you lost it. I be really feeling like I'm flawless. And I can really have my money calling. Step in the game with my bullshit. All of my dreams are enormous. Effortless, I don't gotta force it. Cause I'm on there and I go all in. Straight to the spin that raw shit. You ain't fucking with it, you lost it. I be really feeling like I'm flawless. And I can really have my money calling. Step in the game with my bullshit. All of my dreams are enormous. Effortless, I don't gotta force it. I'm on in love. I'm on a whole other wavelength. Always on the grind, but the path takes patience. When you're working on greatness, can't settle for less, so let your soul get wasted. I will never be basic. Everybody got a dream, but I never want to chase it. Half man, half amazing. Hate a nigga so shake, but it really don't phase them. Smoke weed till I'm right there. Take a trip on the shoes till I'm a high sensation. Psychedelic sensation. Looking at the man in the mirror when I need motivation. Got no time to be modest. Feeling like the man already. I'm just trying to be honest. It ain't all about the profit. Nigga like me, low-key, I should be iconic. To my own made a promise. I will never fall short, and I know I hate it, can't stop it. I be talking that hot shit. I'ma have a next one waiting by the time that I drop this. I can do this shit all day. Wanna fuck the world already, still getting past foreplay. You be doing what you want to say. I be trying to get you back till I think I can't solve it. Better not take the hard way. You ain't on the grind like me, then I really gotta part ways. I'ma do this shit the smart way. If I give up with my dreams, then I know they gon' haunt me. I'm early in the morning. I ain't trying to play no games, and I think I be morning. Better know I go all in. I can put my phone boys in and I had a money call, man. You said that raw shit. You ain't fucking with me, lost it. I really feel like I'm flawless. I really had a money calling. Stepped in the game on my bullshit. All of my dreams are enormous. Effortless, I don't gotta force it. Cause I'm on it, I go all in. So you said that raw shit. You ain't fucking with me, you lost it. I really feeling like I'm flawless. And I really had a money calling. Stepped in the game on my bullshit. All of my dreams are enormous. Effortless, I don't gotta force it. Cause I'm on it, I go all in.
Yes, Space Windu! You heard? You got it here first, you know what I mean?
That's unreleased too. You gotta hear it first.
The exclusive! So, you know, at this point in the show, we go through our closing thoughts or what have you. I usually have a tie rant for the day, and I just felt like, you know, we just so much things are going on, and I just felt like love. Just love is the tie rant for today. Everybody love, you know what I mean? Unconditional love is needed. There's a song by Stevie Wonder, Love's in Need of Love Today. Don't delay, sing your love right away. And that's what my tie rant is today. So, in closing thoughts, you the guest.
Yeah. I guess I would go with you off of what you were saying. Same energy, man. Love and positivity could take you a long way, man. For real, like, you know, just that's all.
Oh my God! Don't forget, this is Space Windu. How can we find you? Wait, how can we? Excuse me.
Wait.
Excuse me. My name's on the marquee. Back to you.
That's one of them.
How can we find your music? How can we find you on social media?
Space Windu across all platforms. On Instagram is space_Windu, but on all other platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Tidal, Space Windu.
Okay, absolutely. Say less. Salute, my brother. Salute. Thank you so much for coming back. And thank you for doing my birthday special. It was an amazing time. It was lit. We had a good time. We really did. You know what I mean? So what we're gonna do is, guys, we're gonna do the recap for this show, and we'll have it up on IG. We weren't able to get the IG live again. I know. It's the bane of my existence, getting this IG live to come. But one thing that we do have going on is that we are on Amazon Music, and we are on Spotify, and we are on Twitter Live. I didn't realize that the show was going live on Twitter as well as Facebook and all of those other social medias, and YouTube. At Tai Chunn is all of my platforms, and you can catch the show, and we're going to do a recap of this show where you can see the performance space we're doing, the interview or what have you, and he'll be able to share it on his social media as well. Brother Leon, closing thoughts.
Yes. Well, you know, it's the last. Right now, it has to be about the women, because when you look at their rights that are being, you have grandmothers that are crying to their granddaughters by saying they're not going to have the same rights that they have, which is just a travesty that's going on in this country. So.
Joy Behart, is your phone more important than the women?
No, I have to get my.
Oh, okay, Joy Behart. Because I don't know if you guys are familiar with the View. Joy Behart is always on her phone.
Wait. I'm about to pull a whoopee right now. So, no, because this is something that I have to read them.
Okay.
And it says, the razor blade is sharp, but it can't cut a tree. The axe is strong, but it can't cut the hair. Everyone is important according to her own unique purpose. Never look down on anyone unless you admire in their shoes.
All right, honey. Never look down on anyone unless you're admiring their shoes.
Exactly.
So my closing thoughts are going to be support independent artists. It is very important to support independent artists. These young brothers and sisters are doing their thing. They are living their true passion. And I think that it is one of the most amazing things that you could possibly do is be true to your art. The one thing that I was always told, if you could do something without a paycheck, without food on the table and all of that kind of stuff, just from the gut, pure love of it all, as everything that is coming full circle with me, with this show, with the fashion and all that kind of stuff, and that passion that I put behind it, to see these young brothers and sisters do what they do, we have to support them. We won't be supporting him because in addition to him being the artist of the month, and we're going to be playing his music on all of our platforms, we're also going to be doing artist showcases. And I want to make sure that I get his input and making sure that it is what it needs to be. I don't think that he needs to be a part of the showcases. I think that he's past that point. I think he needs to be one of the judges. So we're going to put him on the spot right now and ask him, will you be one of the judges in our artist showcases that are coming up next month?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
So if you need me to perform a couple.
Oh no, perform, but you don't have to be a part of the show.
But the
Open
judge,
it up, you know what I'm saying? Open it up.
Definitely would be
Open it up or whatever. So I would like to go out to your music. You know what I'm saying? I think that it would be absolutely, an honor to just close out the show to your music. You know what I'm saying?
But before we do that, one thing to say to the audience, thank you for waiting for me. I'm back.
This has been a fashion moment. This has been a fashion moment with Tai Chunn. Thank you guys for tuning in. Live a free life. We love you guys. We love you. We love you. Love yourself. Love on somebody else. Always remember to take time out for yourself, even if it's just to have a cup of tea. Look at the horizon and see what God has created for you. Live a free life. We love you. Peace out.
Amen.
Fashion moment with Tai Chunn.
Amen.
And we're going out to Space Windu. And he's telling them what to play in production.
You can play the same song again.
Play something.
The difference between me and them is I don't feel no pressure, this come without effort. You know my energy different, guess what? My lane better know that there's levels. I'm more in love with the grind, got the heart in my mind, so you mind that I settle. I'm with your weekend tan trick, I make a weather, she come without effort. The difference between me and them is I don't feel no pressure, this come without effort. You know my energy different, guess what? My lane better know that there's levels. I'm more in love with the grind, got the heart in my mind, so you mind that I settle. I'm with your weekend tan trick, I make a weather, she come without effort. I ain't really trying to take no days off, no coming for it all, I ain't taking no shorts. I'm trying to match the matter with my thoughts, and the second that it keep my brain on course. So I feel like I can't take no loss. See it in your eyes, and you ain't no boss. So I tell I ain't mad for you, so lost. But I'm kind of mind, but better walk with the source. Shoot to my thoughts, I'm lost to the source. Feminist energy, pushing to the source, gotta open up the doors, and your mind and explore. I don't put a shot, I'm just smoking with force. When I'm just looking at sharp like sword, if you have to sit and try, let your soul get a thought. So you come so around, but I just can't afford it. If it ain't about war, if it ain't no reward. I don't feel no pressure, this come without effort. You know my energy different, guess what? My lane better know that there's levels. I'm more in love with the grind, got the heart in my mind, so you watch it, I settle. I'm with your weekend tan trick, I make a weather, she come without effort. The difference between me and them is I don't feel no pressure, this come without effort. You know my energy different, guess what? My lane better know that there's levels. I'm more in love with the grind, got the heart in my mind, so you watch it, I settle. I'm with your weekend tan trick, I make a weather, she come without effort. The difference between me and them is I don't feel no pressure. This moment out after the flow, we do weapon like Cody for practice. It's sharp as machete, I got the deception. I really feel like I'm destined. Maneuver the bitches and make it look basic. Ain't no imitation, got no limitation. I'm feeling the higher connection. I feel the flow with perfection. We in a whole other section. Holding it down in the lane of my own. I ain't thinking about changing direction. Yeah. Holding it down in the lane of my own. I ain't thinking about changing direction.